Good morning, Mr. Welber here. 2.4 multiplying and dividing rational numbers. As we've been saying with all rational numbers, we always want to use the same rules that we use for integers. The big thing to remember is when you're multiplying and dividing and you have same signs, you want to have a positive answer. When they're different signs, use a negative answer. A couple quick examples. 3 times 3 gets me a positive 9. A negative 3 times a negative 3 gets me a positive 9. When the signs are different, negative 3 times a positive 3, then I have a negative 9. Or 3 times a negative 3, I have a negative 9. So remember those basic rules that we use when we used them with integers. Alright, here we go with some examples of dividing and multiplying rational numbers. This one's a division problem. It's dividing fractions. First of all, it's a negative divided by a positive, so I should know that my answer is going to be negative. A lot of you forget your negative signs. Don't forget them. Negative 5 and 1/5 would become negative 26/5, and that would divide by 7/3. Here's the great thing about multiplying and dividing fractions. You do not have to, you do not have to find a common denominator. But we do have a slight issue. When we divide fractions, we have to multiply by its reciprocal. A reciprocal is flipping these two numbers, so it would become a negative 26/5 multiplied by the reciprocal, meaning 3/7. When I go ahead and I multiply that, you just multiply straight across when it comes to this. 5 times 7 is 35. Negative 26 times a negative 3, or positive 3, would be a negative 78. I go ahead and reduce that. It would be answer here of negative, goes in there 2 times. 2 times 35 is 70. And I would have 8 left over. So my answer would be negative 2 and 8/35 for my grand answer. Again, to divide by fractions, you have to multiply by what it's called its reciprocal. In 7/3, the reciprocal of 7/3 would be 3/7. Alright, let's do some multiplication. Negative 2.5 times 3.6. You, of course, can use a calculator. It makes things a lot easier. It is a negative times a positive, so make sure your answer is negative. I'm looking at negative 2.5 times 3.6. 0. It's 30. 12. And add 3 is 15. Bring the 0 down. 5, 6, 7, 0, 0, 9. 1, 2 spaces. My answer is a negative 9. You could, of course, calculate or use a calculator to do that. But remember, negative times a positive gets you a negative answer. Alright, getting a little more complex. This looks a little difficult, but it really isn't. First, I wanted to point out here that you're multiplying a positive and a negative together, so this part's going to be negative, and then you're going to multiply by another negative, so a negative times a negative is going to get you a positive answer, so keep that in mind. First of all, remember what we talked about with integers. If I go over here, 1 times 2 times 3 is going to be the same thing as 2 times 3 times 1. So if you need to manipulate this around, as long as it is multiplication and nothing else different, you can do that. The reason I'm bringing this up is negative 1/7 times a negative 7, which is over 1, is a whole lot easier to monkey around with. That's going to be a positive answer, and they're pretty much all going to cancel out. Negative 1 times negative 7 is a positive 7. It's going to be 7 over 7 when I multiply that out to get 1. Simple enough. I then have to bring this 4/5 down and multiply by 4/5, and sorry about that. 1 times 4/5 just becomes plain 4/5 for my answer. So as complicated as this thing looked, it really wasn't that bad. Just remember, keep in mind, you have to be careful with your positive and your negatives. Alright, one practice problem for you, and it is to find the mean of these numbers. Now, mean is another word for average. An average, I think of class average, I think of your grade is an average. In sports, they do a lot of averages, how often something occurs. To find an average, you need to add up each number and then divide by the total number of numbers there are. In this case, there are 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'd like you, for a practice problem, to add these 4 numbers together and then divide by 4 to find the mean, or, as I said, the average. Good luck, and we will see you tomorrow.